Been a lot of fun talk about prison today, but I am here to scare you straight. I am here to scare you straight!
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we'll be playing Red-White Prison in the Timeless format. So the prison elements we're playing are Chalice of the Void, which can lock out low mana value efficient decks, and Blood Moon, which can lock out greedy mana bases. And so we're hoping that one or both of these can impact the opponent's game plan. Now, this deck, because of Chalice, has to run some like higher mana value stuff, so we don't have like any 1 mana spells, and so we use the free spells of Fury and Solitude to help keep pace in the early game and just also close the late game. So these are like absolutely essential. We don't have a ton of cards to pitch to Solitude, but plenty for Fury. And Powerhouse Phlage can help police the board and like close out games really well, and pitches to both of our elementals, as well as like Bonecrusher Giant, which can get rid of stuff for 2 mana and also block and attack pretty nicely, and 1 ring to keep the cards flowing. So let's try and lock some people up. Any hand with like a Bonecrusher feels a lot safer because you just have like that little bit of early interaction, especially seeing Gigantic Companion on the other side, which likely means energy. Could mean any number of decks, but that's just a common deck you face all the time. Yep, there's the Red-White land and Ocelot Pride. So now, this deck, I think, is very suited at fighting energy decks. Like, we have Fury, we have Solitude, we have Chalice, we have Phlage, Bonecrusher, like, tons of way to kill creatures in. Look at that. Surveilled a Chalice to the top. We're going to leave Ocelot Pride alive for 1 turn and just slam a Chalice for 1. That locks out Static Prison and more Ocelot Prides, Guide of Souls. Oh, and there's a Static Prison getting got, so opponent is not used to playing against Chalice, or they just saw something nasty and like just slammed the removal spell. So or already happy about that, just opponent spewed a card away, though granted it was dead in their hand, but maybe they wanted to fill up their graveyard for Phlage, so like that is a consideration also. We're going to play Phlage right now as well, so and trying to figure out what land. So the reason I'm hesitating here is because we play Blood Moon in this deck, and so there is an argument to getting a second Plains just to make sure we can cast our Solitudes and stuff. But another red source is good because we have way more red cards, and you know it's important for Fury. So not to mention like we might be able to escape Phlage. So like there's some tension in figuring out what lands to grab. Alright, there's Unstable Amulet. See if the opponent can draw anything interesting. Alright, there's a Galvanic Discharge, which is just a dead card thanks to Chalice of the Void. And anyway, I love Chalice of the Void. I've played, I don't know, like I've showcased like 6 different Chalice decks at this point, so it's just good, clean magic. Going to just pass with Bonecrusher up just to nab something if they play like an Ajani or something like that. Holding out till we can like hard cast a Fury, because we're just under absolutely no pressure right now. Yeah, the opponent's just spinning the amulet. Let's see what else they have. There's an Ajani, so I'm going to just Bonecrusher in response right here. Now this is like incredibly safe because of Chalice. This is really risky if Chalice wasn't there, because they could just Galvanic Discharge their token cat, flip Ajani, fizzle Bonecrusher, have the Planeswalker. It would be horrible, but I knew that it was completely safe at that point. There's a 1 ring, so we could just slam that and just postpone using a Fury. But aside, like, you know, it's a pretty good clock and like just clears the board. And it's also very relevant, like getting rid of cats for this deck, like just not leaving extra cats around. Alright, so the opponent's gonna cast the Galvanic Discharge, which gets countered, but they might just be filling their graveyard at this point. Not to mention it dings us because of the amulet, so like it's not without value. So let's see what the opponent has. Alright, so they do have a Phlage to eat our Fury. That's pretty unfortunate. But thanks to them just casting stuff into Chalice, I think they're already at Phlage escape at this point. So we'll need to find an answer to that at some point. So we could potentially escape our own Phlage right now. It would require you know, surveilling basically whatever's on top. But then I see a Fury. I think I would have binned most other things, but Fury is just so strong, gets energy. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we can wait on escaping Phlage. Like, that was the last card we would have needed. We have like the 1 ring, you know, so like it's not like a wasted turn by any means. So, but like I said, we will have, like, the opponent will be able to like escape their Phlage eventually. We'll have to deal with that. They might not do it now because they'd have to like Helix themselves, but it would be in play, you know. So we'll have to see what the opponent does. All right, there's another Ajani, and let's see if they have any follow-up. They're out of. Okay, so there's Goblin Bombardment, and so I was bracing for impact, but the opponent just opted to not flip Ajani at that point. Now, I think it might have been worth it to just flip it and go for it, though. Like, you know, the opponent knows that we have like Phlage at the ready, so I'm trying to figure out how to navigate this, because we have the Phlage that could come back, and we have the Ajani we want to get rid of, which they can just flip it right here in response to our Phlage trigger with the Goblin Bombardment, like sacking the token, but the opponent just lets it happen. So that's a misplay on their part. At the very least, they should have sacrificed Ajani and flung it at us, because that would have fizzled the life gain off Phlage, which really matters right now since we have a 1 ring. So going to escape Phlage now and see if we can just take down the other creature. Want to just get Phlage in play, because that really just increases our options. So I'm not going to target their creature in case they decide to try and like fizzle our life gain. Right now, that's the most important thing, is just being able to survive, just keeping the ring around. So, but yeah, I was sort of shocked the opponent didn't at least try to go for the Ajani flip last turn. So Amulet's going to ding us, and here comes their own Phlage. They're just going to go upstairs, and the opponent's at 21. Now, we are incredibly safe right now because they have 0 energy and just 2 Aether Hubs. So they basically can't cast anything in typical energy decks, you know, like unless they have some oddball flash artifact or something. But we're pretty much in the clear. So I'm trying to think the best way to proceed. And I think the best way to proceed is just to hard cast a second Phlage, and then use our attack trigger to take down their Phlage, and that's going to set them back a lot because they just don't have cards in the graveyard to escape it. So, going to keep the one we have in play, of course, but we do get the ETB trigger, and so I'm waiting to see them sacrifice it to Goblin Bombardment, but maybe they're just waiting to like force us to like use our damage this way. So, and let's see if the opponent and then once again they don't. So I don't know if, like, I don't play Goblin Bombardment that often. Like, maybe there's some sort of weird priority thing like you need to do, but it seems like the opponent might just be missing, because here's another opportunity for them to like block sack, and they, you know, I don't know, they're just not sacrificing any of their creatures to it. So, but we're firmly in the driver's seat at this point. Like, the opponent's very far from Phlage. They have nothing going on. We have like a million cards. And so what I'm going to do here is actually I'm just going to Bonecrusher our own cat token, because it's completely safe. Like I was talking about, the opponent only has colorless mana. And what that'll do is like trigger an Ajani flip, and we can just get that going right now. And so we are going to flip Ajani and going to go ahead and 0 Ajani and create the cat token, and the opponent's seen enough. So if you like seeing energy get locked up, please Aurelia's Fury the like button, and we're already on to the next game. So feels pretty good about that. And like energy, I feel like is like an insanely good matchup for this deck. Like, we just have so many ways of dealing with creatures, and not to mention we can lock them out pretty well with Chalice of the Void. And look what we have here, Guide of Souls from the opponent, and we already have a Chalice in hand. So I've already talked about how much I love Chalice of the Void. It is super strong. Once again, every fetch you have to be cognizant of like your basic planes situation because of like looming Blood Moons. Against red decks, like, they're not, Blood Moon is not as potent, you know. So, but yeah, we're just gonna get our red mana and Chalice on 1 and see how potent it is. Like, they do have strong 2s like a Ajani and Amped Raptor, you know. So we'll have to see. And this opponent also throws a Static Prison into the Chalice. So they just really want to get rid of Chalice, but they cannot do it that way. So, but once again, like, you know, cards in graveyard is relevant for Phlage, you know. So they may know that, like, they might know that it's just not looking any better for that card, and they were just going to put it in the graveyard. So now what do we do? So we're sort of sitting pretty with Chalice on 1 and like a lot of time. Probably just I'm going to go ahead and use the Shatterskull to evoke Fury, because there's a nice trick you can do. So I can kill the Guide of Souls and my own cat token and flip Ajani right here. So yeah, so we can distribute the damage that way. And yeah, the opponent's deck, things are about to get really nasty for them. And a lot of their clean ways to get rid of Ajani Planeswalker cost 1 mana, which we've already locked out. And so if they don't have a Phlage in hand right then, like, it's pretty much game over. So, and another red-white deck, though this is not an energy deck. This is, you know, obviously some sort of aggro deck with a Monastery Swiftspear coming in hot. So we could have a pitch cast Fury just to take down Swiftspear, but I was feeling like there's a good chance they play like another Swiftspear or a Ragavan or something like that and be able to like nab them both with Fury. So, but no, the opponent just goes upstairs with Lightning Helix and crashes into Swiftspear. So being at 14 at the start of our turn 2 is not ideal. So it seems like at this point we basically have to Fury down the creature. Like, and then there's the question of what to pitch. I was still holding out hope of Blood Moon doing something. Like, it would, the opponent wouldn't be able to cast white spells at this point in time. So I figured with that many extra Fables, like, we can just use one of those to cast Fury. So let's see what the opponent has. Alright, so they have the basic mountain. We're going to crack. And alright, so there's a lightning bolt from them. And the opponent probably doesn't exactly know, like, they might be wondering if we have like blue mana or something like that. So they're waiting until we crack the fetch to launch that. Chalice of the Void. So them being like aggro or burn means Chalice is super strong. So was going to slam Fable, but now we're just going to slam Chalice on 1 and lock out all future Swiftspears, Ragavans, bolts. Alright, so opponent's going to skull crack us in response. So we're already at like a dangerously low life total, but we're feeling a lot safer with Chalice right there. Alright, so opponent's cracking their fetch and passing. Now, we've already seen a lot of red-white decks, but if you're interested in more, I have red-white Scam that I've played before, so I'll link that right here. So we're going to just slam Fable, Skullcrack. So this burn deck has tons of 2-mana damage spells, so they're just getting around the Chalice over and over. So, feeling a little sketchy at 4 life, hoping they don't have like a Boros Charm or something like that. Alright, they're getting a little bit flooded. Now, Phlage is real nice, so I'm going to get rid of the Blood Moon at this point, like it just doesn't seem relevant. And putting the Fable away, because want to like load up the graveyard for Phlage. That's our best way to like buffer our life total at this point. So just going to play a Phlage, hoping they don't have another Skullcrack. And the opponent's probably wishing they saved it at this point. So, so we could like bolt in the Witch Enchanter and play like another Phlage, but that's just life neutral. It doesn't seem very profitable. Alright, so opponent's just casting Ragavan, but it just gets got by Chalice, and yeah, they pack it in. So we're just eating up these red-white decks, no matter what kind of red-white deck. And with the Gigantha Companion and an Aether Hub, it's likely we're facing another red-white deck. So we are just running like the red-white deck gauntlet with our own red-white deck. So we're trying to secure red-white deck supremacy against all these energy and burn decks. So, alright, so opponent's crashing with Guide of Souls. Now, Aether Hub casting Guide of Souls is like a show of weakness, and then, you know, then they missed the land drop. So it was probably a very speculative hand that like just needed like a little bit more to get going. So that bodes well for us and not for them. And what I did is I just clicked through their end step and forgot. So should have fetched a Surveil land on their end step. So that was just a mistake on my part. So had to take a little damage to get this out. But Chalice for 1. And it already feels like, alright, if they don't draw a land here, like it's just game over. So opponent's going to crash in with Guide of Souls. We're taking damage, feeling pretty dang safe. Alright, so they miss a land again. And seems like pretty well have this. So now there's the question of, do we just play like an Ajani to like hold off their attackers, or play a Fable? I opt for Ajani, just to like threaten the Ajani flip with like a block with the token. Okay, so the opponent found another land, and it is a fetch, so they'll be able to just get like a red-white shock and get the ball rolling. Amped Raptor. I thought a long time about Solituding Guide of Souls in response to try and like shut down their color generation, but didn't seem worth it. And the opponent did exile a One Ring right there, so I'm very glad they didn't hit anything that they could cast. Once again, Chalice is covering us for all the 1-mana spells, so Elegant Parlor, and gonna keep that land on top. Like, we have just tons of spells. We want to be able to deploy everything, so boy, a Fury would be incredible right here. We could flip our Ajani and kill both their things. But we're going to settle for Phlaging down their Guide of Souls. That's where things can get out of hand with energy. As soon as they dump some counters on something, gives it flying, like they can really like steal a game that way. So we're not going to mess around with the Guide of Souls. Alright, so opponent cracks a Bloodstained Mire. Now they're rolling. Alright, so there's Phlage, which is going to cut down Ajani. So we were not able to flip it. And do we have the chance to Solitude it on the way down, so that way they can't escape it later? So like, that was me thinking about it, but just it's pretty costly, like pitching our Ajani to like Solitude it right there. So seems better to wait. Now what do we do? Like, decide just to slam Fable. That'll help us like sculpt our hand and eventually generate some treasures. So gonna crash in with the cat token, and alright, so the opponent has their own Ajani. Let's see what else they have. Brother. And they have a Guide of Souls, which they're just feeding into the Chalice, presumably to get the Phlage online. Alright, so they're crashing with Amped Raptor. We don't have any really good blockers for that. Alright, another Phlage is great. Gonna discard the extra Chalice. Like, Chalicing on 2 is a consideration, but doesn't seem like what we want to do right here. And dumping cards in our graveyard is relevant for our own Phlage. So now's the question, like, do we hardcast a Solitude? Do we... It seems like we should get rid of a Ajani. Like, we don't want that flipping, because that can just... It generates so much value, things can spiral out of control, but going a Phlage into our own Ajani seems pretty nice. And we're just going to attack with both. Lock up the treasure token with the Goblin attack. Alright, so they're just going to trade with the Goblin. And we're feeling pretty dang good at this point in time. Like, even if they do, like, cast Phlage, and they have enough cards for it now. Alright, so there's Phlage escaping. And there's no reason to pitch cast it right here. Like, it's gonna kill our Ajani no matter what. So, and it's gonna allow another Amped Raptor attack. But thanks to our own Phlages, like, our life total's pretty healthy at this point. So we will gain them a lot of life, but we're just gonna hard cast a Solitude here, and just not have to worry about Phlage anymore. Not to mention, like, if they don't kill Reflection, then like we'll be able to have on-demand Solitudes for like the rest of the game. And we have the Phlages on deck also, so it's looking increasingly grim for the opponent, despite their like high life total. Alright, so they have an Ajani. And let's see what their follow-up is. And they have another Ajani. Okay, so they are going to flip Ajani into the Planeswalker. Now, they know we have like Phlage on deck, so I think the best player here is to actually plus Ajani. That way it's like safe from like a Phlage direct hit. But it's just horrible for them anyway. So they end up zeroing Ajani to take out our Solitude. But that means it's still only at 3 loyalty, so like it's pretty trivial for us to just like escape Phlage and just kill Ajani, and then like they're in like big trouble at that point. So we're gonna start escaping Phlage at this point to mow down the Ajani Planeswalker, and like choosing the cards. And yeah, the opponent's seen enough, so we are just chewing up these red-white decks, and yeah, on to the next game. Now, I thought long and hard about this hand. So we do have the turn 2 Chalice, we only have white mana right now. But if we draw any red land, we got Fable, and any 2 lands, we got One Ring. Anyway, I ended up mulliganing, but I thought a long time about that, because basically the thing is, like, if the opponent goes turn 1 Inquisition, take our Chalice, then we're like in pretty bad shape. Or turn 1 Thoughtseize, take our land. So that's why I mulligan. All right, turn 1 Once Upon a Time, grabbing a Prime Time. So bad to see that in their hand, but good to know exactly what we're up against. So I'm gonna play the tap land and pass. Now, I hesitated on that because that is a white card to pitch cast Solitude, so we don't have to feed like Ajani into it. Alright, so the opponent's gonna explore and play another land. And this was the argument of keeping the Witch Enchanter in hand, is to be able to keep up Solitude. So it feels like we have to play the Ajani just to get things moving, but I'm really regretting playing the Witch Enchanter, seeing that we've drawn that additional land at this point. But it's hard to say, and I don't know. But it was something I was thinking about, and I don't know if I made the right decision after all that. So now, obviously, this is a matchup where we really want Blood Moon. Like, that just completely grinds them to a halt. Not only will they likely not be able to cast anything, but it completely bricks Field of the Dead. So, gonna play Fable here and start trying to churn through our deck to look for a Blood Moon. Alright, so they had an answer for our Ajani and their growth spiraling, so they could potentially slam Prime Time next turn. So we'll have to see. They might be running counters also. Okay, no, so they're just grabbing a trial. So here comes Fable. I'm like, please no land, please no land, please no land. And they have it. And you know, that's what their deck is. It's full of lands to be able to do this kind of thing. So here comes Primeval Titan. And worse than that, 2 fields are the 7th and 8th lands. And so just like that, they got Primeval Titan and 4 zombies. So I'm going to pitch 2 lands here because worst come to worst, we can attack to get mana to hard cast Solitude. You know, so like that is an option. But what I end up doing is actually just slamming the One Ring and opting to just pitch cast the Solitude, since we already have like a spare white card in hand. Like, I don't know, there was like their line of attacking with the Goblin and then before blocks hard casting Solitude. But like I said, I really want to find a Blood Moon because, you know, the opponent's just be getting so many zombies, and seeing Uro right now is not great. I did a little graveyard check and they can already escape Uro. So there's 4 more zombies, and then Uro is just coming right back again. So that is extremely tough. We had the chance of solituding Uro on the way down, but Prime Time seems like way scarier as far as like just with the Field of the Deads and stuff. So, but they are still making a giant army. So before they attack, I'm going to Solitude pitch cast right here. And like I said, it felt important to get the One Ring in play just to like find a Blood Moon. But now like the survival is it's gonna be pretty tough right now. So here comes 4 zombies with like tons of extra attackers at the ready. So go ahead and just no blocks right here because of ring protection. So the opponent must have just forgotten attacked on instinct. So alright, so Fury is really nice. And so here I think where some longer term thinking could have helped me a lot. So Uro is a problem. And so what I ultimately decide on doing here, so we have to crack the Flooded Strand to get the other red source for Fury, because we can't pitch cast it right now. So we could slam a One Ring and just sort of wait, but that seems like problematic with like an Uro out and like so many zombies. The nice thing is Fury cleanly kills 2 zombies, so it feels really nice to hard cast it and just take out 2 zombies. Not to mention it actually trades with Uro. And so that was my plan. I'm like, alright, I'm gonna kill 2 zombies and then trade Fury off with Uro and have some other like things to trade with the zombies. But thinking ahead, I should have been like, alright, no, I gotta keep Fury alive so that I can reflection it and keep killing zombies with reflections, and then hopefully trade the reflection with Uro later on. So I think that is the better long-term plan. But I go ahead and do what I mentioned, like just trade with the Uro and then block like one of the zombies. It might have been at this point better just to block with the goblin token so our life total doesn't get too low and keep reflections around. So I think that the better longer term plan would have been to chump Uro, use Fury to block a zombie, and keep it around for like reflection copying in subsequent turns. But we're losing a lot of life right here. And this, you can see my timer burning down, and I think I ultimately make a pretty big mistake. So I'm thinking about all the options, and like with another copy of Fury, like we can use like the reflection copying trick to kill some zombies. You know, assuming the opponent has no interaction. That's like, this is all best case scenario thinking. But then I'm like, oh wait, no, I can gain a ton of life by copying Phlage with like triggers on the stack, and then like survive the ring and kill some zombies. The problem is the reflection can only copy non-legends, and it's at this point, like you see me holding full control, I'm like, oh dang it, no, it's a legend. So we do need some life to like survive the ring, but that was not really the way to do it. And really unfortunate right now is that our only land costs us 3 life right now, being a Witch Enchanter. So like there is downside to running these. Like if it was just a plains, or like we could fetch for like a basic, we'd be feeling a lot better, because then Phlage escaping and killing another zombie could actually like get us out of this. The problem is like the ring is like taxing our life so much, and there's so many zombies. So I don't know, like there probably might have been a way to navigate, though I'm sure there's a way to navigate that turn better, but it may not have mattered in the end because the opponent sort of has it all. So they have Leyline Binding that's just going to gobble up Phlage, and we are already just dead to like them attacking. Like even if we block with reflection, like our ring's going to kill us. So here comes some more zombies, and this game was just tough because I felt like we were just sort of slightly behind the whole time, and like you could see how well we grind through those zombies. I'm just running through all the iterations to see if we pitch cast Solitude, killing one of them. Anyway, no matter what, we're dying to the ring, and so I eventually arrive at that conclusion and go ahead and just pack it in. But this is, I think, a winnable matchup, you know, especially if we can slam a Blood Moon. So just turned out we just couldn't find him. So on to the next game. Love to see double Ajanis. You could do like the whole Ajani into Ajani, flip one of them trick. So let's see what the opponent has in store. All right, Faithless Looting, and they've been Arclight Phoenix and Atraxa. So really hoping they don't have the turn 2 reanimate, because it could get real ugly for us. All right, there's the Dark Ritual. So we'll have to see what the follow-up is. Like, hope it's something not like super scary. All right, Thoughtseize. Happy that it's not a reanimate, but don't exactly love it. All right, Thoughtseize is going to take the other Ajani. That is spell number 3, so the Phoenix is for sure coming back. Oh man, and the opponent had it all. They had like multiple Thoughtseizes just to shred us, and the reanimate. But this deck is really potent. I actually have played a reanimator strategy. I'll link it right here if you're interested in watching. But this deck is really explosive. So what this prison deck doesn't have that some of my other ones do is the ability to go turn 1 Chalice for 1. So like some prison decks I have can do that thanks to like Labyrinth. Forgetting the full card name, I'll put it up on the screen. And so this deck is just like a little bit slower, but this deck is like really well equipped for like rumbling with like mid-rangey creature strategies like energy and stuff like that. It's the sort of more combo-y stuff that we can have problems with. So so if, you know, thinking super optimistically, it is possible to kill Atraxa with like Phlage plus like pitch cast Fury on turn 3, but it doesn't seem. Well, the thing is, what we need is a Solitude, because they have another reanimate in hand that could just bring back Atraxa. So this is unfortunate because the opponent's going to gain all the life back that they lost, and they have just a stacked hand. So this game just sort of spiraled out of control from the get-go before we can even do anything. So Soren means we got to just pack it in because that dinosaur is also a vampire, and so we are super dead. So thought I had like one more draw step for a Solitude, but we were already out of it. So, but we just jumped into the next game, and we do have a Blood Moon in this hand. I was a little worried because of, I mean, you saw how fast that last game was. We don't do anything until turn 3, unless, you know, we draw like a Chalice or an Ajani or something like that. So I was a little leery about keeping this hand, and seeing a hedge maze makes me even more worried because I'm thinking that it's show and tell. So bracing for impact, but it's an Arboreal Grazer. So okay, I guess it's a Titan deck instead. So that makes me feel way better. It means that we actually have a little more time. Though the opponent could untap, play land, natural order out a Titan next turn. So extremely happy to see Solitude. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, all right, so it's gonna be like natural order Titan. That is like a miracle Solitude right there. So that at least gives us like a little bit of breathing room for like that play I described. And, you know, for the... Oh, and there comes Uro. So, it is seeming like possibly like a Titan deck. So, both in Prime Time and Uro are Titans, I guess. Alright. Okay, so that wasn't so bad. So, we're going to get it... So, this is where you have to think of it. So, I'm like, alright, I'm going to grab basic planes here because I'm like loading up for Blood Moon. And I'm going to go ahead and grab another basic planes here just to set up our hard casting Solitudes in the future and enabling Phlage escapes. So we're going to just slam Blood Moon, and that could just immediately end the game right here. So I'm like, alright, like maybe they're just fetching a basic, but they spell pierce it. I'm like, what the heck? Like, the Titan decks play spell pierce? Like, so, but they got the, you know, stopped the Blood Moon, and so the game goes on. Not, you know, they had the fetch, so like they wouldn't have been super impacted by it anyway. So, alright, so the opponent passes to us, and so now what do we do? No Blood Moon after all that. I'm really worried about mana drain now that I've seen counter magic from them. Okay, so one ring just immediately resolves. So very glad that it wasn't drained, and going to just pass to them. So let's see what the opponent does. Brainstorm. And the more I see from them, the more I'm like, okay, this actually is not a Titan deck. Like, not a primetime deck, because it was thrown off by Arboreal Grazer and stuff. This is actually Sultai mid-range, because there's an Abhorrent Oculus right here. So, and if you're interested in seeing Abhorrent Oculus in action, I'll link a video right now where you can see that. So, yeah, before our upkeep, I'm just going to get rid of it because don't want to give them any extra value because it allows them to load up their graveyard and possibly tuck another Oculus under, or, you know, it just gets nasty. So it's worth using the Solitude in that instance. So now what do we do? We're having a better idea what we're up against now. So the opponent only has 2 cards in hand. We're just going to hard cast Fury and just take out the Arboreal Grazer. It seems pretty clear at this point the opponent's not going to be natural ordering, but might as well clear out the blocker and have, like, you know, 3/3 double striker at the ready. This opponent has another land. Let's see what they do. Alright, they're just going to surveil. Possibly setting up for like another Oculus or trying to like surveil away an Uro. Okay, so there's an Uro. Let's see what the opponent does. Alright, they're just going to sacrifice it. Okay. Alright. What do we do now? So I'm constantly checking their graveyard to see how close they are to Uro. We have it pretty well covered with our Solitudes, but they have played Spell Pierce and Arboreal Grazer and Brainstorm, so I'm going to go ahead and Chalice for 1 right here. And as I deploy the prison piece, let me know in the comments like what other ideas you have for Chalice of the Void decks or prison decks in general. I just would love to hear what you're thinking about, what you're playing. Alright, so the opponent's just going to Abrupt Decay the Fable, and they didn't care about the Chalice, I guess. Now they're just gonna run the Unearth into Chalice. Now once again, like, they can fill the graveyard, but given how much mana they had, it would have been much better for them to cycle Unearth, get the card, and then enable Uro to escape. So that was like a little misplay for them, but they realized it as soon as it happened. Like, not enough chalicing happened to the people. Alright, so the opponent's gonna surveil away. But we're sitting pretty right now with like double Solitude and like just an absolutely stacked hand right now. Surveil land, yeah, we don't need an extra land right now. And so, yeah, the opponent has 0 cards in hand. We have like 1,000,000 cards in hand. And we just gotta start recouping our life right now so the ring doesn't kill us. So trying to figure out the best way to deal with Uro. They're really far from escaping it again, so like exiling it is not like super necessary. And also don't really want to like spot them another 6 life and just buy them so much time. So decide to just go ahead and Phlage it. And we have plenty of cards in the graveyard to escape it. So now we can escape it and deal the final 3 damage to Phlage. And yeah, the opponent packs it in. I just love prison decks. You can probably tell that by now by how many like Chalice of the Void decks I'm posting, and it's just good, clean magic. And what I also loved about this run is that we established supremacy of red-white decks. Like, we beat 3 energy decks and a red-white burn along the way, and like it was just awesome. So this is a really fun strategy. I'll post another prison deck variant if you want to see even more lockdowns. And yeah, there's just a lot to love about this deck. And there's many cards I considered. So if you can believe it, there was actually another lock piece I was going to play alongside all these in High Noon. But the more I thought about it, the more like I realized it didn't have that many ways to like break the symmetry of this. Like, basically it only had Bonecrusher at that point as the instant speed way to like leverage it. So those got replaced with Solitudes, and this deck felt a lot better and stronger after that. But it still like got me thinking, like, a lot of these cards in here are like High Noon considerations. Like, you can have Godzilla Doom Inevitable as like a way to like use, you know, to get around High Noon and possibly put a giant threat into play, or Virtue of Loyalty to like instant speed creatures, or like Heartflame Duelists. So like there could be some sort of red-white High Noon hijinks thing. So let me know if you're interested in seeing that worked on. I do have like a blue-white version that weaponizes High Noon, you know, so I already have one of those working. Also, very curious about Ty Joaquin Perfect Shot. Could be like a really awesome include in like a heavy Fury deck, because you can just draw a bunch of cards if you kill like an Ocelot Pride and like a Guide of Souls, you know. So very curious about this card, and might try and build around it at some point. And also have this fetch in here because I wanted to point out that if you try and build this deck, be very mindful of the fetches. You may have noticed that every single one I included in here can fetch basic planes, and that is by design because we need double plane, you know, double white for Solitude and Phlage, and we don't want to lock ourselves out with our own Blood Moons. So that's why we have 3 basic planes plus a ton of ways to grab them up, just to make sure we secure that before the Blood Moon hits the battlefield. But anyway, that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.